Am I live? Okay. Welcome everybody. It's Friday, Finishing Friday. Today we're going to go over something that might not seem as exciting, but it's very, very important to the success of your finishes and the success of your project. So I have someone that I have known for a while that is quite an expert in this field of refinishing and repairing, and I have invited him to be my special guest today. So if you're going to come over, we're going to talk about this. So this is my expert.
Who's free, by the way.
This is my expert, Gene Howard. We joke about this and say, I'm the Amy and he's the Howard. So a lot of you, what?
Mr. Amy Howard.
A lot of you that don't know this, but we have been in the first probably 10 or 15 years of our married life, we rescued and restored furniture. And so we were furniture manufacturers for many years. And so we got our start in doing just what we are showing you today. So I love the fact that even before I met Gene, he was redoing furniture.
Restoration and refinishing.
So that way we can kind of go over with you some tips that a lot of people won't go over when you're going to be painting them and finishing them. So we've got some things here today. We want to talk about some real specifics, but specifically on like this piece, Gene, that we've got right here. This is a drawer that people will find a lot of times on the side of the road. Maybe you take it out of a piece, and y'all have seen some things that I've done before that you can make cute dog beds out of this. So we have a couple of problems with this. One of the problems is this is veneer, and this is starting to split. So I don't know how you want to get that so you can show them. So the veneer is literally splitting up vertically. So how are we going to handle that?
If the veneer's gotten loose, like you can see how this is starting to, it's split and it's also lifting. So what we want to do, we're going to let gravity help us with this. So what we want to do, we want to get glue down in here. We've got to re-glue this veneer. So first thing we'll do is we'll get a little cup and we'll get some glue.
Just some regular wood glue.
So this is just
water-based wood glue.
Regular wood glue.
Okay.
And we're going to put a little bit in here. And then we're going to mix it with some water. We want to thin the glue down. The reason we're thinning it down, we want it to easily get down in here because of making it.
Are you going to work with your fingers or do you want a spoon?
Yeah,
All right.
It's water-based.
Okay. Now see, I would mess my nails up if I did that, so I would probably use a spoon.
Yeah, well, I'll get mine done later. So we've watered this down so you can see it's much thinner. And then we're needing something to, as we allow this to go down into there, we'll also take something to just kind of help make sure it gets down all the way, and that it's spread, it's even.
Love that. That's so smart.
And see how it's just going down in there. And we just be sure you wipe the excess off. When you want to use a little bit of water.
Okay.
Little water on your rag just to get that off.
Okay.
And then once we've gotten that all filled, then we're going to glue that down.
So guys, you need to be doing all of this before you start the painting process. This is all part of cleaning and prep and repair before you actually, whether you're using the one-step paint, whether you're using the lacquer, or the chalky mineral spray. This is part of prep.
So, you know, we want all of that done. For time, we won't be able to do everything and to do it just wonderfully perfect. And then we're going to take some wax paper.
Now, why are we doing wax paper?
Well, we're going to cook bake some cookies.
Okay.
And, we're just going to take some wax paper. And the reason we're doing that is because you see how the glue is already starting to ooze. And so we're going to put some wax paper between that, and we're going to use a piece of wood. And the reason we're using this is because we get uniform pressure. If I tried to clamp this,
Oh, I love that.
and just clamp it
Right,
here.
it's just in
None
the
of this
top part.
other is getting
Oh,
it.
I love that.
But the wax paper will protect and keep the wood from gluing to that.
That's so smart.
And so we'll put a piece of wood here, and then we'll take a couple of clamps and we'll put that down, and we'll get an even pressure all the way across. And I may need smaller pieces, larger pieces, whatever it takes to get full uniform pressure across there so that all gets
So leave that
glue
there
down.
so that way people can see what you've done. Love that, love that. Okay, now other question. For a lot of times when we're redoing a piece of furniture, it's got holes. And I may want to put one long bar or another piece. Maybe I have found an odd piece of hardware that I really like and I want to put it in the center and I need to be able to get rid of these. What's the best way to take care of that?
Well, you can use wood filler. You can also use Bondo. Bondo is fast, it's quick drying. The only thing with Bondo is it's more expensive than your wood filler. And also with the Bondo, as it starts to dry, if you don't sand it as it has started to dry and you let it dry maybe an hour, 2 hours, you'll end up sanding all the wood and finish around the Bondo before
Right.
the Bondo levels out. This takes, the wood filler takes a little longer, but it sands much easier.
And so literally this is like a wood pulp material. So it's it has shavings of wood in it. It's usually water-based and it's stainable and it's paintable. And so you want to make sure you work with a water-based filler. So Jean, show us how we should do that.
You know, again, it's water-based, so very easily can go to the old use the finger method. I like that because I can sit there and push the filler inside
That hole.
the hole and fill it up. Another thing you can do too is if you've got access to saws, you can take little wooden dowels that will fit that hole and cut and glue that dowel in the hole and fill that up and then level it out with your wood putty.
So the cool thing about this is this doesn't shrink down. It'll stay pretty solid. And as a rule, how long do we need to allow this to dry?
You know, because of the amount, we're not just putting a top coat on here. We're
filling it in.
We're actually filling it. This could take up to an hour before it's dry. So you'll fill that up and let it dry, and then slightly sand. If it's still not level, if it's still sunk in just a little bit, then come back and add some more filler to it.
Do we have any questions? Are we good? As
No
far as people
questions
asking
so far.
questions. And I know this doesn't seem exciting. I know a lot of people think, oh, prepping and cleaning and repairing, I want to see how to do finishes. We're going to continue to show you how to do finishes, but we realize the success of your project is going to start with this. These are great, great tips that we want to be able to make sure you know before we actually start painting furniture. So love that, Jean. So then that way, once that dries, probably 2 hours.
An hour.
Hour. So you want to come back and you just want to lightly sand over it so that way it's nice and smoothed out. Now, I don't know if you remember, but last week when we were at the antique mall, and there were furniture that had buckling of the veneers. Most furniture does have veneer, but it was buckling. And I talked to people about syringes. Can you talk about that real quickly?
If you've got where the veneer has started to buckle on top and you don't have access to an outer edge that allows you to get the glue up underneath there easily, they make furniture repair, veneer repair syringes. And it looks like a syringe. It does have a needle that will allow you to get down inside or under that veneer with that syringe, squirt the glue in, take it out, and then you
Do the
go
same
back to
thing.
the same thing. You'll have the wax paper, you'll have your piece of wood, and then you'll clamp. There's different clamps depending on what the access is to being able to clamp that wood down. If I don't have an edge to clamp to, I may have to use something like a bar clamp to get a much wider opening of the clamp to get to my piece of wood. As you saw over here, we were on an edge and we were able to use a pinch clamp, which is spring loaded. This is a Jorgensen clamp This has been used for many, many, many years, again, for clamping down. So there's different clamps for different applications depending on what access you have to being able to clamp the wood down to.
And I do want to point out, this is part of one of the reasons why we love going to estate sales. Go on the first day of an estate sale. You can go on estatesale.net, isn't it?
Estatesales.net.
And you can look and see where estate sales are in your area this weekend, because you need to go in. There's a lot of guys that are woodworkers, and they've got clamps like this. This is when you can get them cheap, and you want to have different clamps like this and putty knobs and things. That and glassware and linens at estate sales are cheap and they go fast. So make sure you go and look at the ones that have a woodworking shop, go in the garage part. So you want to be able to have tools like this when you're going to be refinishing. All right, so let's take a look at this nightstand over here. This is real important. A lot of people talk about why, cleaning. Okay, well, cleaning's no big deal. I'll just use a degreaser. And that's why it's really important on pieces like this that you clean it. Because when you feel it, first of all, it's dirty. This has been left out. It's had a lot of uses. Look at things like this. It's got stickers on it, especially if it's been in a child's room. It's got coffee stains on it. It's really dirty. So just using a degreaser would not do the job on this. A degreaser isn't going to take away all the gumminess and stickers and things that you want to get this piece completely clean. A lot of people don't realize, but we formulated Clean Slate to be used to get a clean slate, to be able to start painting. A lot of people think if they just go in, they will even use oilier type cleaners. Gene, what's one of the one that people use sometimes?
TSP.
What is it?
TSP.
I don't want you using TSP. Nothing against that company or that product, it's great, but here's the problem with that. It's an oily residue. We don't want anything that's gonna act as a surfactant to where the paint is not gonna bond with this really well. The great thing about the one-step paint, we're gonna go over more that next week, is the fact that it will bond. You don't have to sand, strip, or prime. We're just cleaning. You do need to clean it. So this Clean Slate product is great for your pantry. And I've got a drawing that I've got to be able to tell you who the winner is this week. If you're not familiar with our drawings, every week you can go to the link on Facebook and Instagram and you can register, and your name will go into an automated drawing that you will win the product. And this week it's called Clean Slate. That's what we're giving away. And actually I want to be able to go in and tell you who the winner is. If you'll grab that name real quick, and then that way you can tell us. So as far as this Clean Slate, it's great to go in your DIY pantry. And as a rule, when I'm loading it up to clean a piece, I'm going to turn it over and I just count to 4 or 5. So that way I've got a nice saturation on my rag. So our lucky winner of the Clean Slate this week is Phyllis Calvert. So congratulations, Phyllis. You're going to love this Clean Slate. We'll email you and we'll get your address so that way we can send it to you. So I'm going to go over this piece. I want to make sure that there's not any loose paint. If there's any cracks like this, we want to come in, as Jean showed us, and add some wood glue and be able to clamp that. And make sure if there's any rough areas, you may want to just come and lightly sand that down, especially if you're going to be lacquering it, which we'll talk more about next week. And then come over here, I may use a little bit of a putty to get the sticker off and go in and clean these areas. But I need to make sure that this piece is completely clean. And then that way, I'm gonna let it air dry for about an hour or two, and then I'm gonna be ready to start with whatever coating paint I decide to use. And we'll talk next week a little bit about what's the difference between a chalky mineral spray, what's the difference between a lacquer, a nitrocellulose lacquer, and the one-step paint. So hopefully today has been really, really interesting, and you've learned a lot. Come on over here. I want to thank you. Of course, y'all know he's one of my favorite people, but Gene is incredibly knowledgeable. Is everything okay?
Yeah, we have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about keyhole hardware? Can that be removed, or can you take
Let's go over here in
it?
just a second as far as, all right. And I want to talk about this before we, yes. Keyhole hardware.
Keyhole hardware, same thing. You want to plug that hole. Again, because of the size of the keyhole, a lot of times you'll need to use the Bondo as opposed to the wood putty. The keyhole, if there is an actual operating lock, you want to remove that lock from the inside. A lot of times that keyhole, there is a brass, what's called an escutcheon, that is inside that keyhole that creates an outline, and you can either leave it or remove it depending on if that escutcheon is flush with the wood. If it's flush, leave it and just fill it. If it's not, you want to go from the inside with maybe a little screwdriver or an ice pick and tap it from the back side of the drawer and push it back out so that it removes it, and then you're able to do what you need to do.
Love those questions. You know, be sure and send us some love. We love seeing the hearts. We love seeing you engaged. We love the fact that us taking the time to do this, that we're teaching you not only how to use the Amy Howard at Home products, but we want you to be successful in rescuing furniture. You know, we throw away 28 million tons of furniture in the United States alone each year. And so we love being part of the reason of going green. We say, go green, save a chair. And Jean hates the fact that when we're driving down the street, this was one of them, that we get to stop the car and pick them up. We joke and talk about with our students that don't call yourself a dumpster diver, you're now a curbside shopper. And those are the best because they're free. And I just wanted to let you know on this, because I had this out here. As far as repairing wicker, a lot of times if there's loose wicker that you've got, of course this piece needs to be cleaned with a clean slate. But you can come in and put some glue, just the wood glue, just like Jean said. And then he was talking about wrapping it up after you shoot the glue in with tape. So that way it's held together. And then I usually like spraying my wicker. I don't like brushing it on as much, but I can go over a little bit more on that next week. So hopefully this was really helpful. Be going to estate sales this weekend. Look for your clamps, look for your tools. That way also look for your furniture. That way we're going to be walking with you on this journey about rescuing and restoring furniture. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.